Hey, Digital Trailblazers. In this episode, we're going to share how to start and grow a seven-figure marketing agency that you work part-time with Jake Setterlun. So stick around. If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer Podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now let's get to it with today's guest. Hey, Jake, we're super excited to have you with us today. I think this is an interesting topic. I think people have maybe heard whispers of ideas of being able to have very successful agencies that aren't full-time endeavors for them that could potentially generate a lot of revenue. But there's a lot of question marks on, is that legit? Number one. Number two, like how to actually do all of this stuff. So we're going to get into all that good stuff today. But give us a little background so folks kind of know that you know what you're talking about and where this is all coming from.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. So I've been doing this online entrepreneur, I hate that word, but online entrepreneur stuff for almost 10 years now. I started when I was 19 in college, turning 29 here soon. I'm getting old. And I've really been doing this marketing thing since then. And it's been a roller coaster. At the beginning, I just wanted to make a little bit of money. And now it's turned into having 5 different agencies, whole big team, having to learn how to be a manager and a business owner along the way. It's been a journey and I'm here for it and I love it. Even though some days I struggle getting out of bed.
Interesting. So what have you been able to do yourself and within your company from the agency level?
Gotcha. Yeah. So all of our agencies combined top out, obviously it fluctuates, but we're right around the $1 million a month mark. Hearing that, a lot of people are like, whoa, that's crazy. And obviously that is not our profit margin by any means. I love to say the number, but when you really look at the profit margin and you have all these partners that are taking home pay and everything like that, it becomes a very good living. I'm very happy with what I do and how much I make. But yeah, like you said, as far as working part-time, that's been the biggest thing for me. And I come from a systems background, so I'm usually in front of the computer, but the businesses have allowed me to work right around 15, some weeks it's definitely a little bit more than that, but I'm usually 15 to 20 hours a week in front of my computer. I check in, I make sure there's no fires. And then, the rest of the day you have a team that is really just handling clients, handling support, escalation, sales, all that fun stuff. So that to me is definitely a little bit more of a brag. And I think my friends would say that too, versus, any of the money or, revenue milestones or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think people who've tried to build a team or who have maybe eventually successfully built a team feel like that sounds a little bit crazy. So how does this work? How do you actually create that much revenue, but then build a team that is so self-sufficient that allows you to not be so involved in the day-to-day?
Absolutely. It's a good question. And I definitely have to give a lot of I don't want to say my success, our success, does definitely fall on having partners in the business, because it's always been, hey, Jake, you're dealing with the fulfillment team, operations. Aaron, another partner, is dealing with sales and he's dealing with the reps, setters, all that fun stuff. Other partner is dealing with finances and really kind of from an overarching standpoint, how is everything running? What can we improve? What are clients saying? Customer success side of things. So that definitely kind of takes a little bit of the weight off your back with having to manage every single department. But even, from an individual department, my biggest thing is, because I didn't have a corporate job. I don't know how to be a manager. I've never been besides for the companies that I own, I've never been a manager in a traditional sense, from a job standpoint. So for me, it was always, I need to find somebody. My first hire is going to be not only number one, somebody that I can teach absolutely everything, but number two, they're going to be the manager because I don't know how to do that. So my number one hire, first hire in any of the agencies is always somebody that is going to end up becoming that operations manager or just that manager of that specific department.
So do you normally hire these people into, for example, like in the sales team, it might be a setter role or a closer role first, and they, as you build out the team, they're the ones that work their way up?
There's definitely always roles that fortunately they're just never going to ascend. But from like a sales perspective, specifically what Aaron does, I know, and I do it on the back end, is it'll always be a closer. And that closer is coming in with the expectations that that is one of the better people we can pull, because our expectation is they're going to come in, they're going to learn, and they're going to ascend to a sales manager. Same thing that I do with on the back end is we'll be really picky with our candidates, and we're going to hire the best person that we feel has the experience, has the skill set, that can then be the manager and pull in other team members that can be a support rep, that can do our AI builds, do our media buying for our clients. So you have those little roles that are never going to ascend to the bigger role, but that first hire is always that person. It's kind of like you're hiring a manager before you have people to manage, if that makes sense.
Now, are you getting these people from the United States, or are you hiring overseas in like Vietnam and the Philippines, India, and places like that?
Absolutely. So for the management position, all of our closers and even a lot of our support individuals, we definitely like to have United States, Canada, UK, just because there is a level of communication that they understand the culture of a client, why they would get upset, and just like different things that are going on. So from a sales standpoint and from a customer standpoint, kind of level one where they're doing the onboarding, have like an actual relationship, it's always United States, and then we kind of backfill off of there. So a setter role, and I will say this, as much as US, Canada individuals are really good for the managers, like dealing with clients, people in other countries, specifically Mexico, we hire a lot from, Philippines, Spain is another big one, and then Pakistan, they have better work ethics than the United States people. So it's kind of weird that it's like the important back end stuff we're always going to be hiring out of the States. But then from anything that's customer facing, we're hiring in the States or Canada.
Backing up a little bit, just starting out the agency, like obviously there's stuff that we need to get in place before we can even start hiring a team. I know that when I've talked to other agency owners, some of the complaints they have about starting an agency is, well, even like, what services do you offer? Because I assume that it's got to be a scalable service. For example, like if you're doing website builds, that's a lot of labor intensive stuff versus something like Facebook ads or Google ads, where it's a lot more hands off once you kind of get the ad set up. Is that right? Or how do you decide what services to even offer that is scalable to that level?
Absolutely. And that's a really good question. And it's something that we talk a lot about with our agency. So we never do anything that's not productized. So as an example, I'll give you our offer stack for one of our agencies is for insurance agents. We're going to give you a CRM account. So I don't know if you probably heard of GHL or Go High Level. We're going to give you a GHL account. We're going to build you out Google ads. We're going to build you out Facebook ads. We're going to set up AI to call all your leads and book them into your calendar. And then we're also going to set up AI to nurture the leads after the appointment and check in with them until they're closing. So it's that standard offer stack that we're giving to every single one of different industries that we serve for each agency. But in addition to that, it's always productized as well. I hate to say the word copy and paste, but it really is, because that's the only way that we can, in a sane manner, actually serve our clients with something that we know, number one, works. But then number two, it's not stressing our team out that it's just this big contract, because otherwise we would have to be charging $10,000, $20,000 a client just to make it worth it if we're doing everything custom and this whole marketing strategy. And to really get the client good results, it would have to be just this big thing. And obviously they can't afford it. And just to layer in on that is we have something what we call the Purple Ocean offer, which dictates what you do in each industry. So if we're like, okay, we see a lot of opportunity in this real estate market to offer some kind of marketing to real estate agents, we're going to backtrack and we're going to be like, okay, real estate, that's super red ocean. If we just came in and offered Facebook ads, nobody's going to buy from us because everybody's doing that. So it's like, how can we put a purple ocean spin on it, which is taking a red ocean and tweaking it so that we don't want to be a a blue ocean. Blue ocean would be selling them Hulu ads, which it's like they don't know about it. We have to just sell them on that aspect. So it's how can we tweak Facebook to make it more attractive? And that's like, okay, let's add in voice AI. So now you're getting Facebook plus voice AI. You used Facebook before, it didn't work. Well, we have this, other aspect that is making it work. So long story short, that's how we kind of approach our offer, specifically to make sure that number one, it's standing out, but number two, it's something that we can just kind of crank in and crank out from a productized perspective.
I like that idea too, because the other thing that I've heard a lot about is that if, for example, you're just offering lead generation and you're just doing ads, number one, the churn for your clients is pretty high. Like they might last 1 to 3 months or something like that, and then they're done. And a lot of that has to do with you can generate the leads for them, but they can't necessarily close them, right? They can't get them over the finish line, and then they blame the ads or they blame you, and then they're gone, right? And then what did you charge them, $500 or $1,000 a month for that? And now you got to go hunting for another client. So I like that idea of productizing it, where it's not just a lead gen, but it's also more of a system to get them across the finish line. So it's a lot easier for them to profit off that in the end. Now, thinking about a system like that, obviously you're charging more for that. So there's some niches that are probably going to be good for this and others that aren't.
That is very true. So we do a lot of work inside of we'll call it independent contractor niche, if you want to kind of lump everybody in. So you have financial advisors, insurance, mortgage, real estate. We do a lot of work with contractors and then a little bit of personal trainers. And that kind of makes up a lot of the niches and industries that we work in. What works for one real estate agent in one market, if we tweak it, maybe put a different price point on the ad, it's going to work very well in a different market. That can't be said for like a med spa where they all have different pricings, different offerings. Same thing with potentially some home service businesses like cleaning. And that's also brand forward as well, where they want to show off faces. Chiropractor would be very similar, where again, it's branding plus the offer plus, there's a lot more that goes into it. It's not just getting somebody on a calendar like a real estate agent to sell them, their services. So there absolutely are some niches that are not good for our specific model. And then obviously the ones that we're in, it does work.
So we've got a kind of an idea of the niches we want to go after, and we want a product. And just to be clear, productizing your services, what does that mean?
Yeah, so productizing it means that you have a one standard set of service and procedures that you offer to every single individual. So I don't have a client that I'm doing, one gets Google ads, one gets Facebook, one doesn't get a website, one gets a website. Everybody is getting the exact same thing, whether they like it or not. And we're gonna set it up for them. We're gonna deliver it. It's kind of like a standard set of deliverables that we're giving to absolutely everybody. If you think about your team as a machine, that we can make this conveyor belt that runs through and, okay, Sarah, you're responsible for this before the onboarding. You take care of this before everybody gets on their onboarding call, build out their Go High Level account, Facebook ads, upload, or not Facebook ads, but you set up their account, make sure it's good to go on the onboarding. We're launching their ads. And then after onboarding, set up their AI or something like that. And we have a specific team member for that. So it's like everybody is going through the same machine. It's a conveyor belt. And we have team members that work on each step of the process versus it being this custom plan that everybody gets. That's, again, one person doing Google, one person doing Facebook, et cetera.
Like a cafeteria style thing where they can pick and choose what they, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Good. So on the back end of that, after you've gotten the client, one of the things I know a lot of agency owners complain about is client retention. And part of that we take care of because of the productization of your services. But what else are you doing to make sure that they're happy, that they stick around, that they feel like they're getting a good value for the money?
Absolutely. So that's kind of a two-sided question for us, because we have agencies that are set up to not worry so much about retention, and I'll explain that. And then we have agencies that we care a lot about retention. And for the agencies we care a lot about retention, it has turned into more of a coaching program versus a marketing agency. And I'll explain that. And just like you said, like everybody's issue is they're not converting leads into deals. Like that's everybody's downfall from an agency. So how can we change that? Well, we can install a coach that gets on calls with them every week, twice a week, that is fixing their mindset, showing them that, hey, I'm having success with this. Why aren't you? So now it's on me. And then teaching them how to convert the leads into appointments. So or use the system better or whatever it might be. So it almost becomes like, hey, the deliverable is, this marketing and all this stuff, but what you're really going to benefit from is us coaching you and showing you how to take the leads and turn them into closed deals. So that's one side. And the other side of the argument where it's like, we don't really care about retention. We've set up the agency like what I mentioned before, where it's a productized offer, but it's more transactional than a traditional client. So it's, hey, you're going to pay us to set up the system for you. And on the back end, you're going to pay a very small back end fee for us to, continue to support you. And other than that, if you need something, let us know, but it's kind of your system and you're going to run it as you see fit. So you have on one side, the more of a traditional retainer with coaching added in, but then on the other side, it's a done with you program where you're paying us one time to set something up. And then you're paying $97, $297 for us to support you and continue to help you out. But it's really your system to do whatever you want with. So that's been our solution to retention.
Gotcha. All right. So that makes sense. So it's basically like a go high level CRM that you're selling them on, and you set it up for them, and then they take over. They have the subscription that they pay for the software.
Exactly. It's been labeled as high ticket SaaS.
Okay. Yeah, I love that idea. That's very similar to when Leah and I were doing affiliate marketing. There was a software system that we were affiliates of that they had a great affiliate plan. And what we would do is we'd teach people how to use that. So we would coach them how to use it, and they would have the subscription. We get I think we built that up to like $20,000 a month. That was how we retired from our jobs. It's just doing that. Software subscriptions are great, especially like a business that relies on that for their, to get customers and clients and to run their business. They're on that thing forever. So now that we kind of have an understanding of how do we want to structure our services and how do we want to take care of our clients to make sure that they're retained. How do you get clients in the first place? I know there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can do cold calling, you can do manual outreach, you can do Facebook ads. Number one, getting started. How would you get started? And then number two, how do you scale a business to the point where you're bringing in $1 million a month in revenue?
Yeah, that's a good question. So starting off, you want to do one thing, which is prove your offer. And if you have a little bit of money to play with, you can run ads. We run something called an offer on image ad, which basically means take your offer. If it's, I help real estate agents book 15 to 20 qualified appointments every week with voice AI, that's your offer. Slap it on an image and run it and see if somebody's replying. And, from there, it's okay, how many leads am I getting? And you can dial in your appointment booking, all that stuff. If you don't have a lot of money, take that same offer and do LinkedIn messaging. You can go, outbound with DMs now. Now, obviously that's changed and you might get hit in spam. You can do email. I am a big proponent of picking up the phone and just calling people and saying, hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, I'm sorry, I'm cold calling you. We can do X, Y, and Z. Are you interested? And just do that 20 times a day. And every day do 20 times, 20 times, 20 times. Send them an email as well. And instead of thinking it as I want to send 1,000 cold emails a day, how can I make 20 interactions a day or 50 interactions a day where I'm hitting them at all different angles? So if you have money, ads. If you don't have money, cold. And all you're doing is you're proving your offer and seeing, are people actually biting? And then if people are biting, it's like, okay, this is proven. I need to scale this. Hopefully, if it's proven, you can, have some appointments, dial in your sales, sign up your first client, hire a VA, have them take over outbound or start some ads, scale from there. If I'm not getting any bites, it means my offer sucks or my messaging sucks and I need to change that. That's how you start. And then the grand scheme, how do you scale to doing, crazy numbers? We have a triple threat prospecting thing that we call it, where it's you have your call funnel. So it's offer on image ads. Hey, this is what we do. Scale that out. They click, they go through an application, book an appointment. Same thing with your outbound. Have a team member, a VA that's doing your email, LinkedIn, DM, all that stuff. Just taking care of that. That's a percentage of your appointments coming in. And then lastly is, very new. A lot of people have started doing this. But a social funnel. So we will run just awareness ads. People will follow us. And then we're reaching out to everybody that follows us, comments, engages. And then we have a DM setter that is getting those people into booking an appointment. And those three things, so that's classified as like organic. Those are the three ways that we have all of our client acquisition set up. And it's all qualification or like some kind of questions, like what do you do? Are you a real estate agent? Are you in the position to invest? Whatever. Enter your info and then book an appointment. And that's the same flow that we take across all different platforms.
Now, you mentioned at one point that you've got several different agencies, and I assume you have several different ones because they are niche specific, like you're serving one type of client with each one. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Why would somebody want to do that rather than have one agency that just serves all of them?
That's a really good question. And there's a couple different ways. On a big scale, it's safer for us. At one time, we were all in on real estate. This is back in kind of COVID, and we had scaled up a lot, and real estate market tanked. We lost a lot of business. We weren't profitable. We had to switch up. So part of it is not relying on one industry to pay you every single month. So having a bunch definitely helps you diversify. It's kind of the same thing as investing, not having all your eggs in one basket. But on a actual like profit margin and performance basis of the business, niching down is going to help just your KPIs across the board. You're going to get cheaper leads. You're going to get cheaper appointments. You're going to get better close rate. You're going to have a better success rate because you can specifically offer a solution to that individual's problem versus like, the coaching is an example. I can't coach a roofer the same way as I coach a real estate agent because their clientele is different. Conversion mechanism, that whole process is different. So by niching down, I can kind of spearhead and solve their specific pain points. And then it also helps on the back end too, where I have a perfected Facebook ad for real estate agents that I know is going to work for all of them. And it helps reduce how much time we have to spend on the back end. So it's almost a win-win where it's helping your KPIs, helping you sign up people for less money. It's helping you fulfill at a lower time investment from your team, but it's also helping you get the client better results.
So here's a question, I think, for those who are just getting started or who are at the beginning stages. How do they know they're ready for maybe that first hire, or what are the indicators that they're ready for the next hire? Because I'm assuming when you get started, you're probably doing this on your own, wearing all the hats. So how do you grow past that? Like, how do you know when it's time to hire?
That's a good question. And as long as you have something repeatably in place, and when I say repeatably, if I have a specific offer and I've sold that offer 5 times and my numbers look good, I'm very happy with how the clientele's, working. At that point is when I would start bringing on a team, because 5 sales to me is a proven offer where I know that offer is going to stick. People are responding well. But if I sell one person and 2 weeks later I sell another, and I'm like, this is hard, I'm not getting really good feedback, I'm going to switch my offer, you're not at the point where you can start bringing on team members, because it really needs to be like solidified, productized. This is the offer that I could see myself scaling. And if you're not at that point, unless you have a little bit of money to play with, like it's just not productive to be hiring, because you need to focus on your business model.
Makes sense. Is there any amount of revenue benchmarks, like per employee as you build up, or anything like that?
It's a good question, and I like 5,000. It also kind of plays a role into like how much do you need to live? Because if you're living on $2,000 and you're bringing in 5 profit, well then I would recommend take the $3,000 extra, hire 2 team members for 1,000. You're still client facing, but you have team members that are doing your prospecting and doing some of the back end fulfillment. And then put 1,000 into ads and start your ads. And then, once ads are clicking, then go get a CSM. They can deal with the back end. And then once you're squared on the back end, then go get a closer. But if you're making $5,000 and you need $5,000 to live, well, then I would say suck it up, make it happen until you're at 10, and then do exactly what I said. So it really comes down to, are you comfortable with how much you're making to live off of, which ideally you're being very frugal or living at your parents like I did. And then, kind of scaling from there. But any of the excess money you have should start going into hiring out the resources of like getting better talent and getting work off your plate so that you can bring in more revenue.
So as you scale, especially when you start getting into multiple 5 figures a month, 10,000, 20,000 a month plus, especially once you get to 6 figures a month plus, I think as you scale, your profit margin goes down, but the amount of profits you make go up. Do you have an idea of what a healthy profit margin is? Say if you're somewhere between let's say 20 to 30,000 months, somewhere around there. Like if I feel like that's a good, healthy spot for a lot of people where they feel like they're pretty comfortable. What would you expect at that point to be a good profit margin?
Absolutely. So it kind of varies, but a good profit margin, it's weird because you have such good profit margins when you're first starting and then you scale and then it, dips. But 50 to 70% is going to be a really good profit margin for an agency at that size. 70% is very aggressive. That's probably you still doing a lot of the work. 50% is going to be like healthy where you have some team members, you're spending some money on ads. Usually we like to see ad spend right around 10 to 15%. The people that you're paying, team members, right around 10 to 15%. You have a 5% processor fee. Probably going to have about 5 to 10% refund rate potentially. Hopefully you don't at that stage. That's kind of at scale. And then the rest is profit. Obviously you have some software and that's usually what I would go off of. So anything above 50 is going to be really good.
Okay, so you want to be bringing home at least half when you get to that point. Okay, good. Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably still comfortable at that point. Most people should be. Now, you did bring up something here about refund rates. Are you offering some sort of guarantee with this, or why are you why are you giving refunds?
Yeah, we have some agencies with guarantees. I shouldn't use the word guarantee. Lawyer would hate me for that. It's a money back refund policy. And what it basically means is it's a conditional guarantee and we show it to them. It's a separate document. We make all clients sign that it's, hey, we have this guarantee, this refund policy, but you need to meet all 10 of these requirements. You need to use the system. You need to call your leads. You need to hop on the coaching, all of this stuff. If you do all that, no questions asked, you're going to get a refund. Honestly, that very rarely happens. Most of the refunds are from month one people just like, I'm out, like this isn't working. They didn't show up to any of the calls or something like that. Like they're just done. Like buyer's remorse, whatever. They let it run, didn't work. That's pretty much most of the refunds. And then we do get some again at that 5 month, 6 month mark where they're like, I've been into this, I'm past my guarantee time, I want my refund. And with those people, it's a little bit easier to just be like, hey, like you've been here for so long, what happened? And we'll refund them a month or two just so that they're happy. But that's where those refunds come from. It's reputation is everything. We've had companies that have blown up because we've been too strict on refunds, and we've had some that we've managed very well and we have very good refund rates, but you're always going to have that 1 out of 50, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 person that could destroy your business, and you just need to refund them to keep on the good side of that versus being a stickler. And it's better to just give them a refund and let them go on their way instead of trying to fight them on it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said you only refund maybe a month or two and not all 6 months.
Yeah, no, gotta keep as much money as possible, or at least try. You gotta put up a fight.
Yeah, well, and you provided a service, and the thing is, you already paid your staff. I mean, they already took your time and the staff's energy and the resources and everything. Like, if they wanted a refund, they should have notified you right away.
So, Jake, for someone who's looking to get into the agency world these days and follow this process, what is your advice for them and just kind of overall?
So my best advice for somebody is just get out there and see what's out there and try to be as different as possible and take action. It is my biggest, like, see what's out there. Do you want to go down the Google route or Facebook? What kind of marketing service do you want to offer? There's 1,000 of them. We have one agency that just started offering podcast features, and it's kind of been a cool perk to be able to do that for individuals. So see what's out there, see what you want to offer, and then see how can you be different? How can you put a spin on things? And then lastly, just start contacting people and asking, hey, can I do some work for you? Hey, I've been learning X, Y, and Z. Can I help you out with this? Don't try to make money up front. I made a lot of mistakes trying to ask people for ridiculous amounts of money because I was, Guru said I need to charge $4,000 a month. And I'm a little college kid that doesn't even know how to write a proper email, trying to ask somebody for thousands of dollars a month. Just get in and take your time, learn the business, and then get to a point where you could charge more money, but don't just come out of the gate swinging.
I love that. I think that's awesome. If people want to check you out and learn more about you, where should they head?
Yeah, absolutely. Just jakesetterlun.com is the easiest. I got all my social media stuff on there, everything I got going on. So yeah, just the website.
Wonderful. And you've got a freebie for the audience as well, correct?
I do. Absolutely. So we have we call it our $25 million call funnel. That is the call funnel that is responsible for booking, again, a lot of appointments for our sales team, and it is basically a copy and paste funnel that they can use, or anybody can use, to get qualified individuals on either your calendar or your sales team's calendar to sell more people.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for being with us, Jake. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.